The history of the union between man and dog spans thousands of years, but a special chapter in this relationship was opened by the military service of four-legged assistants. Even in antiquity, dogs accompanied warriors on campaigns, first as camp guards, then as combat units. Roman legions used Molossians, ancestors of modern mastiffs, to break through enemy formations. In the Middle Ages, specially trained dogs served as sentries on fortress walls. But a real turning point in the military use of dogs occurred in the 20th century, when their unique abilities were directed toward saving human lives. The First World War became a testing ground for sanitary dogs, who searched for the wounded on battlefields. It was then that the first experiments on training animals to detect explosives emerged. However, it was during the Great Patriotic War that sapper dogs became indispensable fighters of the invisible front. Their keen sense of smell, capable of detecting the smallest particles of explosives, became a salvation for thousands of soldiers. Where technology proved powerless, the sensitive nose and loyal heart of a four-legged friend came to the rescue. By the early 1930s, the military leadership of the Soviet Union recognized the enormous potential of service dogs for the army. In 1924, the Central School of Military Dog Training was established in Kuntsevo, near Moscow, the first institution to lay the foundation for systematic training of four-legged fighters. Initially, the main focus was on signal and guard dogs, but by the mid-1930s, experiments in explosive detection showed astonishing results. The selection of animals for service in sapper units was exceptionally strict. Preference was given to East European and German Shepherds, Airedale Terriers, and Dobermans. These breeds were distinguished by their endurance, intelligence, and balanced temperament, qualities necessary for working in dangerous conditions. Cynologists evaluated puppies based on numerous parameters: reactions to sudden sounds, ability to concentrate, physical endurance, and olfactory capabilities. Particular attention was paid to olfaction. A sapper dog had to distinguish the smells of explosives in minimal concentrations. Special tests were conducted for this purpose using TNT, ammonite, and other explosive materials. Animals that showed the best abilities were sent for further training. The first experiments in training dogs to search for mines began in 1939. The methodology was based on the principle of positive reinforcement. Initially, dogs were taught to find objects with the smell of explosives hidden in open terrain. For each successful find, the pet received a treat and praise. Gradually, the tasks became more complex. Explosives were buried in the ground, camouflaged, and placed in various conditions. By the beginning of the war, several military dog training schools were operating in the Soviet Union, where four-legged sappers were trained. The largest centers were the Central School in Kuntsevo and the Ulyanovsk School of Military Dog Training. Here, detachments were formed, which were subsequently distributed among the engineering units of the Red Army. Each such detachment consisted of 10 to 15 dogs and their handler cynologists. In the pre-war years, a unique training system was developed which included several stages. The basic course lasted 3 to 4 months and included general obedience training, discipline, and submission. This was followed by a special course, during which dogs were introduced to the smells of various types of explosives and taught search techniques. The final stage was combat coordination, where four-legged sappers learned to work in conditions close to the front lines, under artillery fire, smoke, and on rugged terrain. The training of sapper dogs was a true art, requiring incredible patience and an understanding of animal psychology from the dog handlers. The training process began from the puppy's earliest age. At 2 or 3 months old, the youngsters were already accustomed to various sounds, including gunshots and explosions. This allowed for the raising of a dog unafraid of loud noises and capable of maintaining concentration in combat conditions. Training proceeded in several stages. The first was the development of basic obedience skills. Puppies learned to perform commands like and became accustomed to the collar and leash. Special attention was paid to the command. The lives of soldiers often depended on the dog's instantaneous halt, as any careless movement near a mine could lead to tragedy. The second stage began at 6 to 7 months of age and was dedicated to developing the sense of smell. Soviet dog handlers developed a unique method called the contrast method. The dog was offered to distinguish between boxes with food and boxes with TNT. Gradually, the smell of explosives became weaker, and the distance to the source grew larger. For the correct reaction, freezing and adopting a specific pose next to the explosive, the dog received a treat. The third stage involved field training. Dummy mines of various types were buried at special training grounds. It is noteworthy that Soviet dog handlers used not mock-ups, but real mines with their detonators removed. This allowed the dogs to memorize the actual smell of explosive devices. Gradually, conditions became more complex. Mines were buried deeper, camouflaged, and placed among other metal objects. The fourth stage was the imitation of a combat situation. Dogs were trained to work under artillery bombardment in smoke, rain, and snow. The animals were taught to overcome water obstacles, move through destroyed buildings, and not be distracted by extraneous smells. Special attention was paid to developing stress resistance. The dog had to maintain its working capacity in the most extreme conditions. One of the innovative methods developed in the 1940s was the double control system. The dog and dog handler worked in tandem with an experienced sapper. This minimized errors and increased the safety of operations. The dog would detect a mine and freeze next to it, after which the dog handler would signal the sapper, who would then proceed to defuse it. An important part of the training was developing the dog's ability to distinguish between types of explosives. The Germans often changed the chemical composition of mines, trying to confuse the four-legged sappers. Soviet dog handlers taught their charges to recognize TNT, aminal, picric acid, and other explosives. A full course of training for a sapper dog took 6 to 8 months. During this time, the animal transformed into a professional, capable of detecting a mine buried up to 30 centimeters deep. The dog's sense of smell was so acute that they found explosives even in bodies of water, identifying them by the scent emanating from the water's surface. The first months of the war became a true test for all branches of the armed forces, and sapper dogs were no exception. The baptism of fire for these four-legged mine detectors occurred in August 1941 near Smolensk. It was there that specially trained dogs were first used in combat conditions to find mines on the front line. The reality of war proved harsher than any training. Dog handlers and their pets had to face many unforeseen difficulties: constant artillery shelling, air raids, unfamiliar smells of burning equipment and explosives. All of this created an enormous strain on the animals' nervous systems. Many dogs, who performed excellently in training conditions, became disoriented and could not concentrate under enemy fire. German troops, realizing the danger posed by sapper dogs, began to employ special tactical measures against them. Minefields were treated with strong-smelling chemicals designed to confuse the animal's keen sense of smell. Surprise mines were used, which detonated upon detection. Despite this, the dogs and their handlers quickly adapted to the new conditions. The first significant success came in September 1941 during the defense of Leningrad. A group of 5 sapper dogs, led by Lieutenant Dina Volkats, discovered a camouflaged minefield in front of Soviet troop positions. In one night, the 4-legged sappers helped to neutralize over 200 anti-personnel mines, saving the lives of an entire battalion preparing for a counterattack. A dog named Mukhtar, an East European shepherd, particularly distinguished himself by detecting 72 mines of various types in a single operation. Working under continuous artillery fire, Mukhtar never made a mistake, accurately indicating the location of each explosive device. For this feat, the dog received his first award, a bowl of condensed milk, and his handler was nominated for the Medal for Valor. By the end of 1941, more than 30 mine-detecting dog detachments were operating on all fronts. They participated in the defense of Moscow, where they particularly distinguished themselves in clearing approaches to the capital. In December, a specially formed detachment of sapper dogs discovered a minefield in the Volokolamsk highway area, the neutralization of which allowed Soviet tank units to advance. Gradually, optimal tactics for using 4-legged sappers were developed. Dogs were sent ahead of advancing units at a distance of 50 to 100 meters. Upon detecting a mine, the animal would assume a freeze stance and wait for the handler. The dog handler would mark the spot with a flag and lead the dog aside, after which human sappers would begin their work. Among the heroes of the Great Patriotic War, a special place is occupied by 4-legged sappers whose names are forever etched in history. The most famous of them was the legendary Julbars, a German shepherd, the only dog awarded the medal for combat merit. His unique sense of smell saved countless lives and preserved many priceless cultural monuments. Julbars served in the 115th Separate Engineer Sapper Demining Battalion. During his service, this amazing dog detected over 7,000 mines and over 150 shells. Julbar's talent was particularly evident in the final months of the war, when he participated in the demining of palaces in Vienna, castles in Prague, and cathedrals in Budapest. His intuition helped save the famous Vladimir Cathedral in Kiev, the buildings of the Vienna State Opera, and the Hofburg Palace. In April 1945, while demining a castle in Czechoslovakia, Julbars was severely wounded. Thanks to the care of frontline veterinarians and his handler, Sergeant Dina Sokolova, the dog survived. But by the time of the victory parade in Moscow, he still could not move independently. By personal order of Joseph Stalin, who learned of the 4-legged sapper's exploits, Julbars was carried across Red Square in arms. The dog handler Alexander Mazover carried the dog on Stalin's greatcoat, which the commander-in-chief had specially given for this purpose. No less famous hero was the dog Dick from Leningrad. This unassuming Scottish collie detected over 12,000 mines during the war. His most famous feat was the discovery of a huge aerial bomb in the foundation of the Pavlovsk Palace near Leningrad. German sappers had hidden a charge of 2.5 tons of TNT with a time mechanism in the historic building. A few hours before the explosion, Dick managed to find the device, thanks to which the priceless architectural monument was saved. A German shepherd named Alma became famous for her ability to work underwater. This unique skill allowed her to detect mines placed on the bottom of rivers and lakes. In 1944, during the forcing of the Dnieper, Alma helped to clear the crossing, thanks to which Soviet troops were able to continue their offensive without losses. Mukhtar was an East European shepherd who distinguished himself during the defense of Stalingrad. In continuous battles, the dog detected over 2,000 mines and unexploded shells. Once Mukhtar was wounded, but despite blood loss, he continued to work until the operation was completed. Rex was a Doberman Pinscher, specializing in finding anti-personnel mines. In 3 years of service, he detected over 8,000 explosive devices. In March 1945, while demining the approaches to Berlin, Rex sacrificed himself, shielding his handler from fragments of an unexpectedly triggered mine. Dawn on the front lines began for sapper dogs long before the first rays of the sun. The daily work of the four-legged mine detectors was strictly regulated and subject to the harsh laws of war. The day began with a brief but thorough inspection. Handlers checked the paws of their charges because even a small splinter could hinder precise movements during mine detection. After a light breakfast, usually porridge with a small amount of meat, the dogs received their working harnesses, a special sign of readiness to perform the task. Work on the minefield began with thorough instruction. The commander of the sapper unit indicated the approximate boundaries of the mined area, after which the handler and his four-legged partner got to work. The dog moved in zigzags, methodically sniffing every centimeter of the ground. Upon detecting a mine, the animal froze in a stand without touching the dangerous object. This moment required absolute concentration from both the dog and the human. The handler, noticing the characteristic pose of his pet, cautiously approached and marked the spot with a flag. After that, the dog was led aside, and a human sapper began work. In one morning, a well-trained dog could detect up to 40 mines while maintaining high accuracy. The work continued for 2 to 3 hours, after which the animal needed rest. Overloading the olfactory receptors could lead to a decrease in search efficiency. Work in various weather conditions presented particular difficulties. In the rain, odors became more intense, but water could wash explosive particles from the soil surface. Snow, on the other hand, preserved odors, but hampered movement. The most difficult were windy days. Gusts of wind dispersed the scent trail, forcing the dogs to exert additional effort. Different types of terrain also required specific skills. In open spaces, dogs moved faster, but became vulnerable to enemy snipers. In the forest, many extraneous odors had to be taken into account. Work in urban conditions was especially difficult. Building ruins, broken glass, an abundance of metal objects created additional difficulties. Working on the front line, sapper dogs were often under enemy fire. German troops, understanding the danger posed by the four-legged mine detectors, purposefully hunted them. To protect valuable specialists, the command allocated cover, usually snipers who eliminated enemy shooters trying to hit a dog or its handler. The interaction between human and animal on the minefield was built on absolute trust. The slightest hesitation of the handler was transmitted to the dog, causing it anxiety. Experienced dog handlers knew, on the front line, one must exude confidence, no matter how dangerous the situation. Dogs felt the emotional state of their handlers and reacted accordingly. When the main fighting subsided, an equally important and dangerous task began for sapper dogs. Demining strategic facilities. Liberated cities, industrial complexes, and cultural monuments were literally riddled with booby traps planted by retreating German forces. It was here that the four-legged sappers distinguished themselves particularly brightly, saving not only human lives, but also invaluable historical heritage. During the liberation of Kiev in the autumn of '43, sapper units with mine-detecting dogs were dispatched to demine the city's most important sites. A group of 12 dogs led by Major Alexander Mazover received a special assignment to inspect the buildings of the Kiev-Pechersk Lavra. The historic monastery had been turned into a minefield by the retreating Germans. Over 3 days of intense work, the sapper dogs discovered more than 80 mines of various types, including booby traps in the walls of ancient temples. A German shepherd named Lel particularly distinguished herself, finding a high-explosive bomb of enormous power in the basement of the Dormition Cathedral. During the demining of Minsk in July '44, sapper dogs faced a new challenge. The Germans widely used mines with chemical detonators, which could not be detected by metal detectors. A special detachment of 18 dogs was sent to inspect urban power plants, water pumping stations, and other infrastructure facilities. Over 2 weeks, the four-legged sappers discovered more than 300 mines, many of which had ingenious delayed arming systems. Odessa, liberated in April '44, became a real test for mine-detecting dogs. The famous Odessa Opera House, the port, the railway station, all these facilities required thorough inspection. The Germans and Romanians, retreating from the city, mined not only buildings but also underground communications. The sapper dogs worked in the most difficult conditions, in cramped tunnels, water-filled basements, and on steep staircases. A German shepherd named Don discovered a whole series of mines installed in the city's water supply system, preventing an ecological catastrophe. A special page in the history of four-legged sappers is the demining of cultural heritage sites. During the liberation of Peterhof, specially trained dogs helped neutralize hundreds of mines installed in parks and palace premises. Thanks to their work, many invaluable works of art that the Germans had not managed to remove were preserved. In the final months of the war, when hostilities moved into European territory, sapper dogs participated in the demining of historical monuments in Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Austria. The legendary Julbars and his team inspected the palaces of Prague, the cathedrals of Vienna, and the castles of Budapest. From February to May '45 alone, this group discovered more than 7,000 mines and shells at cultural heritage sites. Sapper dogs played a key role in demining industrial facilities, which allowed for a faster restoration of the economy in the liberated territories. In Donbass, special detachments of four-legged mine detectors worked in mines and metallurgical plants. In Kharkiv, dogs helped neutralize mines on the territory of the tractor factory, which allowed for the resumption of equipment production for the front. In war, dog and human became not merely a fighting unit, but true partners whose lives depended on each other. Frontline dog handlers were a special caste among military specialists. These people didn't just train animals. They forged a unique bond, becoming commanders, friends, and sometimes even parents to their four-legged charges. The relationship between a sapper and his dog was built on absolute trust. Without it, work on a minefield, where the price of error was human lives, would have been impossible. To serve as guides for sapper dogs, individuals with special qualities were selected. Patience, endurance, the ability to understand an animal with a mere glance. All of this was essential for a dog handler on the front. Most handlers had pre-war experience with dogs. They were foresters, hunters, kennel workers. Some came from civilian professions far removed from dog breeding, but possessed a natural gift for communicating with animals. In the extreme conditions of war, dog handlers developed unique methods for establishing a connection with their dogs. The handler always fed his pet himself, often giving up part of his own ration. Many dog handlers slept next to their four-legged partners, warming them on cold nights. Such closeness formed an unbreakable emotional bond. Dogs sensed the moods of their handlers, and people learned to understand the slightest changes in the animal's behavior. Caring for the dog's health was a paramount task for the handlers. In field conditions, in the absence of veterinarians, handlers themselves became medics for their pets. They treated wounds, removed splinters and shrapnel, and fought parasites. Every handler carried a small first aid kit with bandages, iodine, and simple medicines. In cases of serious injury, handlers literally carried their four-legged fighters from the battlefield in their arms, often risking their own lives. Handler Nikolai Petrov and his German shepherd, Jack, became famous for working in the most difficult conditions, under artillery fire, in marshy terrain, at extreme temperatures. Their mutual understanding was so perfect that they could communicate almost without commands, with gestures and glances alone. When, in January of '43, Jack was wounded by shrapnel, Petrov carried the dog 12 kilometers in his arms to the nearest medical battalion, where he himself assisted the veterinarian during the operation. Junior Sergeant Dina Volkatz and her Labrador Murat developed their own system of signals, allowing them to work in conditions of poor visibility. When, in the winter of '44, Murat fell through the ice while clearing a crossing over the Dnieper, Dina, without hesitation, plunged into the icy water and saved her pet. Despite severe hypothermia, they returned to duty just 2 days later. During moments of rest, handlers tried to create an atmosphere for their charges as close as possible to peaceful life. They played with the dogs, brushed their fur, talked, and shared memories. These moments were precious for both. They helped relieve stress and restore strength before new trials. Many handlers kept diaries, recording the successes of their four-legged partners, their peculiarities and habits. War knows no mercy. This harsh truth fully applied to four-legged fighters as well. Losses among sapper dogs were immense. According to preserved archival data, over 5,000 specially trained mine-detecting dogs perished on minefields during the Great Patriotic War. Every third dog sent to the front did not return from its mission. The causes of death varied. Most often, dogs died from detonating surprise mines, specially designed by the Germans to combat four-legged sappers. These insidious devices were not triggered by pressure, but by the slightest change in the fuse's position. When a dog froze over a detected mine, even the animal's light breathing could lead to detonation. Many dogs became victims of snipers. The German command, realizing the effectiveness of mine-detecting dogs, issued special orders to deliberately destroy them. Their light fur made the animals highly visible on the battlefield, turning them into easy targets. Therefore, many dogs began to be dyed in camouflage colors or fitted with special camouflage blankets. In '43, a tragic incident occurred near Kursk. A group of 6 sapper dogs was working on demining an area before the Soviet troops' offensive. Suddenly, a massive artillery bombardment began. The handlers took cover in craters, but the dogs continued their work. All 6 perished, but thanks to them, a minefield was discovered which saved the lives of hundreds of soldiers. Losses were particularly heavy during the liberation of cities. In urban areas, the Germans installed complex systems of booby traps. During the liberation of Kharkov in August '43, 12 mine-detecting dogs died in one day. But their sacrifice allowed over 300 mines to be defused on the city's central streets. The attitude of the soldiers towards their fallen four-legged comrades was special. Despite the harsh conditions of war, sapper dogs often received proper funerals. They were buried with honors, with simple wooden plaques bearing their names and dates of death placed on their graves. In some sapper battalions, there was a tradition. In memory of a fallen dog, a red ribbon would be tied to its collar and kept as a relic. Canine handler Nikolai Erofiev, who lost his German shepherd Alma while demining a bridge across the Dnieper, wrote in his diary, "Today my faithful friend is gone. Alma died, but saved the lives of many of our guys. I buried her on a high bank from where one can see far around. The soldiers helped make a fence and a cross. The commander allowed a 3-volley salute, as for a human. because Alma was a true human, only in a dog's skin. In besieged Leningrad, on the territory of the military dog breeding school, the first improvised memorial to fallen sapper dogs was created. A silhouette of a dog and the inscription, "They saved the city," were carved on a simple stone. After the war, this modest monument became the basis for a larger memorial. In some units, special journals were kept, recording the names of fallen dogs and their achievements. These documents have been preserved to this day and have become valuable historical evidence of the feat of four-legged fighters. In the journal of the 138th Engineering Sapper Battalion, there is an entry. German Shepherd Kashtan detected 187 mines, died on March 26, 44th, while demining a railway bridge, saved the lives of 47 soldiers. For the effective work of sapper dogs, special equipment was required, which was constantly improved throughout the war. Initially, the four-legged mine detectors went on assignments in simple canvas harnesses with identification marks. However, the experience of the first months of the war showed that such equipment did not sufficiently protect the animals from shrapnel and bullets. In early 1942, designers developed special protective vests for sapper dogs. These vests were made of dense fabric with metal plates that protected the animal's vital organs. The vest had special pockets for medicines, tools, and bandaging materials. A bright red cross emblem was placed on the back, although German snipers rarely paid attention to this international symbol. Special attention was paid to protecting the paws, the most vulnerable part of a sapper dog's body. Special boots made of thick leather were developed, protecting the paw pads from sharp objects, shrapnel, and chemicals. For winter work, insulated versions were created, preventing frostbite of the limbs. In 1943, innovative equipment appeared, special goggles to protect dogs' eyes from dust, smoke, and small shrapnel. These goggles, resembling aviation ones, were fastened with elastic straps and did not obstruct the animal's vision. Initially, many dogs refused to work in such equipment, but gradually got used to it. For night work, reflective elements were created, attached to the dog's harness. They allowed the handler to keep track of their four-legged assistant in the dark. In particularly difficult cases, miniature flashlights attached to the animal's back were used. Tactical methods for using sapper dogs were constantly improved throughout the war. At the initial stage, the simplest scheme was used. The dog moved ahead, detected a mine, and froze over it. However, this method had a significant drawback. The animal became an easy target for snipers. In 1942, a new tactic was developed: shuttle mine clearance. The dog moved not in a straight line, but in zigzags, regularly returning to the handler. This made targeting difficult for enemy shooters and allowed the animal to rest, restoring its olfactory receptors. For clearing roads, the parallel search method was used. Two dogs with handlers moved parallel to each other at a distance of 10 to 15 meters. This allowed for faster route checking and reduced the likelihood of missing mines. When clearing buildings, the floor-by-floor inspection tactic was used. First, the dogs examined the first floor and basement, then moved higher. This method minimized the risk of structural collapse from an accidental mine detonation. A special methodology was developed for working on water obstacles. The dog moved along the bank, sniffing the water's surface. Upon detecting the smell of explosives, the animal marked the spot, after which diver sappers began their work. Special tactical techniques were used when detecting booby traps. Dogs were trained to recognize not only the mines themselves, but also tripwires stretched at ground level. Upon detecting such a device, the animal would lie down on the ground without approaching the dangerous object. By the end of the war, a system for the interaction of sapper dogs with metal detectors had been developed. First, the area was checked by technical means. Then, the four-legged mine detectors, which found mines with plastic and wooden casings invisible to the devices, began their work. The German command quickly recognized the danger posed by Soviet mine-detecting dogs. By mid-1942, a comprehensive system had been developed to counter these four-legged sappers. The enemy not only adapted existing mines, but also created special types of explosive devices specifically aimed at combating dogs. One of the first such inventions was a mine with a chemical detonator, which German sappers called Hundetod, dog death. Its peculiarity lay in the extreme sensitivity of the detonator, which activated at the slightest change in position. When a dog froze over a detected mine, even the animal's light breathing could trigger an explosion. Unlike standard anti-personnel mines, designed for the pressure of human weight, these devices reacted to minimal impact. Another dangerous invention was mines with a double detonator. The first low-power charge would detonate when the mine was detected by a dog, and the second, main charge, when a human sapper approached the site of the explosion. Such, too, were particularly insidious and led to heavy losses among dogs and their handlers. German engineers also developed special chemical compounds to mask the smell of explosives. Minefields were treated with strong-smelling solutions: turpentine, carbolic acid, bleach. These substances masked the smell of TNT and other explosive materials, making the work of mine-detecting dogs more difficult. In 1943, so-called 3 appeared. These had substances with food smells added to them: meat broth, bone meal. This was done to make the dog, attracted by the familiar scent, lose vigilance and break its stance, which would lead to detonation. The German command also used tactical methods against sapper dogs. Were set up in potential directions of Soviet troop advances. Areas with a large amount of metallic debris soaked in the smell of explosives. Dogs spent time and effort investigating these areas, while real mines were placed elsewhere. Special attention was paid to combating dogs in urban environments. Booby traps were installed in buildings, detonating when light conditions changed. When a dog's shadow fell on a photocell, an explosion occurred. Such devices were particularly dangerous during the liberation of large cities. Soviet sinologists did not lag behind and developed a whole range of countermeasures. First of all, the dog training methodology changed. Animals began to be trained to recognize mines even in the presence of masking odors. Special additives were added to the dogs' diets to enhance their sense of smell. In 1943, new equipment appeared: protective vests for sapper dogs, partially protecting them from shrapnel during the detonation of low-power mines. Special devices were developed that allowed a dog to examine a suspicious object from a distance. The tactics of using four-legged mine detectors also changed. Now they rarely worked alone, usually in groups of 2 or 3 dogs. If the first dog detected a mine, the second would check the surrounding area for additional detonators. This allowed for effective countering of surprise mines. To combat snipers hunting sapper dogs, camouflage blankets were used, making the animals less visible. Work in open terrain was primarily conducted at dusk or in foggy weather when visibility was limited. The confrontation between German sappers and Soviet mine-detecting dogs continued until the very end of the war. Each side constantly improved its methods, but in this invisible duel, the four-legged mine detectors more often emerged victorious. Their natural abilities combined with the skill of Soviet sinologists allowed them to overcome even the most sophisticated enemy traps. May 9, 1945, marked the end of the most terrible war in human history. But for sapper dogs and their handlers, the fighting was not over. A new, no less dangerous war began, with mines that remained in the liberated territories. The scale of this problem was truly colossal. In fields and forests, in the ruins of cities and on roads, in reservoirs, and even in residential buildings, millions of deadly surprises lay hidden, left behind by retreating German troops. Mine clearance became the primary task of post-war reconstruction, and four-legged sappers once again found themselves on the front lines. Specially formed detachments of mine-sniffing dogs were sent to the most affected regions of the country: Belarus, Ukraine, the western regions of Russia. These lands were literally riddled with explosives. In Belarus alone, in the first post-war year, sapper dogs helped detect and defuse over 4 million mines. In the Leningrad region, 20 special detachments operated, each with up to 30 dogs. They methodically, quarter by quarter, cleared the suburbs of the northern capital. Mine clearance of agricultural lands proved particularly difficult. The Germans purposefully mined fields and pastures to hinder the return to peaceful life. Sapper dogs worked side by side with peasants, preparing the land for the first post-war sowing. In the village of Pogoreloye Gorodishche, Kalinin Oblast, a detachment of 15 mine-sniffing dogs discovered over 3,000 anti-personnel mines in collective farm fields in 1 week. Thanks to their work, the first harvest was gathered here as early as the autumn of 1945. Post-war mine clearance differed from frontline operations in its particular complexity. Mines that had lain in the ground for several years changed their characteristics. The metal of the casings rusted, the fuses became unpredictable, and the smell of explosives weakened. Dogs had to work at the limit of their capabilities, catching the slightest traces of the smell of TNT or hexogen. Kinologists developed special methods for post-war searching, including repeated checks of already surveyed areas. Particularly dangerous were booby traps with chemical fuses, which became even more sensitive over time. When working with such devices, dogs were taught to mark the find at the maximum distance, without approaching the dangerous object. One of the most impressive operations of the post-war period was the mine clearance of the Pulkovo Heights near Leningrad. This strategically important area was turned by the Germans into a continuous minefield. In the summer of 1945, a special detachment of 25 sapper dogs, led by Major Alexander Mazover, worked there. In 3 months, the four-legged mine detectors discovered over 17,000 mines of various types. A dog named Mukhtar particularly distinguished himself, finding 128 anti-personnel mines in the observatory area in 1 day. No less important was the task of clearing transport routes. Railways, bridges, roadside strips, all this required thorough inspection. In the Baltic states, special detachments of sapper dogs worked on railway tracks connecting major cities. Only on the Riga-Tallinn section did the four-legged mine detectors discover over 2,000 delayed action mines installed by the Germans before their retreat. A special page in the history of post-war mine clearance is the work of sapper dogs in Crimea. Sevastopol and its surroundings were literally riddled with mines and unexploded ordnance. A specially formed detachment of 30 mine-sniffing dogs worked there until 1948. During this time, the four-legged sappers helped defuse over 300,000 explosive devices, including sea mines on the coast. The hero city of Stalingrad also needed large-scale mine clearance. The ruins of industrial enterprises, residential areas, basements, and communications. All this was checked with the participation of dogs. The work on the territory of the tractor factory proved particularly difficult, where sapper dogs discovered an entire system of mines with ingenious fuses. Thanks to their work, by 1947, the factory was fully restored and began producing peaceful products. The recognition of the merits of sapper dogs began even during the war. Unlike humans, four-legged heroes could not receive official orders and medals, but unit commanders found ways to acknowledge their feats. In some engineering battalions, there was a practice of assigning conditional ranks to dogs for special achievements. For example, the German shepherd Dick from Leningrad, who detected over 12,000 mines during the war, received the honorary nickname Sergeant Dick from the soldiers. His photograph hung on the Wall of Honor alongside humans. In the 115th Separate Engineer Sapper Battalion, dogs that had detected over 100 mines were given a red ribbon on their collar, a kind of insignia that the soldiers respectfully called an order bar. However, a real breakthrough in the official recognition of the merits of four-legged heroes was the awarding of the legendary Jewel Bars. This unique case has no parallels in military history. In March 1945, Marshal Vorobyov, commander of the engineering troops, signed a recommendation for awarding the German Shepherd Jewel Bars the For Battle Merit Medal. The award sheet listed his achievements: the detection of 7,268 mines and 150 shells in Romania, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Austria. The four-legged sappers' work in demining palaces over the Danube, castles in Prague, and cathedrals in Vienna was particularly noted. On March 21, 1945, by order of the troops, Jewel Bars was officially awarded the medal. This is the only case in history when a combat order was awarded to a dog. A special page in the history of recognizing the merits of four-legged heroes was opened by the famous Victory Parade on June 24, 1945. By this time, Jewel Bars had been seriously wounded while demining one of the palaces in Prague. A mine fragment damaged his hind leg and spine. Despite the efforts of veterinarians, the dog could not move independently by the time of the parade. When this was reported to Stalin, he ordered, for this purpose, the Generalissimo's tunic was allocated, on which the heroic dog was carried. The dog handler Alexander Mazover walked as part of the consolidated regiment of the 1st Ukrainian Front, carefully holding his four-legged fighter in his arms. This symbolic gesture was of great importance. It emphasized the equal value of human and dog feats in the common victory over the enemy. After the war, many distinguished sapper dogs received special status. They were allocated special rations, provided with veterinary care, and given comfortable living conditions. In some units, separate enclosures with plaques listing their achievements were built for deserving four-legged veterans. The command of the engineering troops issued a special order according to which sapper dogs who had served in the war were exempted from further service and transferred to state maintenance. Special kennels were created for them where the animals could live out their lives peacefully. It is noteworthy that many dog handlers returning to civilian life took their four-legged partners with them. These dogs became full members of families, surrounded by care and honor. A special ceremony honoring sapper dogs took place in Moscow in July 1945. Rows of four-legged heroes with their handlers lined up on Red Square. Each dog was given a red ribbon with golden embroidery, Hero Sapper. The orchestra performed the anthem, and then a solemn procession took place. This ceremony was captured by frontline cameramen, and the footage has been preserved to this day. In the post-war years, the merits of sapper dogs were immortalized in numerous publications. Books were published telling about the feats of four-legged heroes. Their stories were included in school textbooks, becoming an example of devotion and self-sacrifice for new generations. The names of the most famous sapper dogs, Jewel Bars, Dick, Alma, Mukhtar, became household names, symbolizing loyalty and fearlessness. The memory of the exploits of sapper dogs is immortalized in numerous monuments and memorials throughout Russia and beyond. These monuments have become a symbol of human gratitude to their four-legged saviors, a reminder of the unbreakable bond between people and animals who together overcame the trials of war. The first significant monument to sapper dogs was erected in 1958 on the territory of the Central School of Military Dog Breeding in Kuntsevo, near Moscow. The bronze sculpture depicts a German shepherd in a characteristic stance over a detected mine. Simple but poignant words are engraved on the pedestal. They helped us win. Annually, on Victory Day, flowers and bones are brought to this monument, a kind of treat for the bronze hero. In Volgograd, on the territory of the memorial complex on Mamayev Kurgan, a monument to mine-detecting dogs appeared in 2000. The sculptural composition depicts a dog handler and his four-legged partner at the moment of mine detection. It is noteworthy that the prototype for the monument was a real front-line photograph taken in February '43 during the Battle of Stalingrad. St. Petersburg preserves the memory of sapper dogs that saved the city from mine danger. A memorial to the military dog trainers and service dogs of the Leningrad Front has been erected in Primorsky Victory Park. The composition includes the figure of a dog handler and 4 dogs of different breeds, symbolizing the different specialties of four-legged fighters. One of them is a sapper dog in a characteristic mine detection stance. Every year on May 9th, a wreath-laying ceremony takes place here with the participation of modern sinological services of the city. A unique memorial is located in the Moscow region, in the village of Krasnaya Gorka. The first open-air museum of military dog breeding in Russia has been created here. The central place in the exhibition is occupied by a monument to the legendary Jewel Bars. The bronze figure of the dog is installed on a pedestal where all his awards and achievements are listed. Nearby are stands with photographs and documents telling about the exploits of four-legged sappers. In Belarus, one of the republic's most affected by mine warfare, monuments to sapper dogs have been erected in several cities. The most famous is in Minsk, in Yanka Kupala Park. The sculptural composition depicts a dog frozen in a stance over a detected mine and a sapper preparing to disarm it. The inscription on the pedestal reads, "To the four-legged heroes who saved thousands of lives." The artistic features of the monuments to sapper dogs reflect not only the feat of the animals, but also their special bond with people. Sculptors sought to convey the concentration and tension in the pose of a dog that has detected a mine, while simultaneously emphasizing the trust between man and animal. Many monuments depict the dog and the dog handler as a single entity, symbolizing their unbreakable frontline friendship. In recent years, a new tradition has emerged, installing interactive monuments. For example, in Volgograd, the bronze sapper dog has a nose polished to a shine. It is believed that if you rub it, it will bring good luck and safety on the road. In Nizhny Novgorod, the monument to sapper dogs, erected in 2015, has become a place for young dog handlers to take their oath. The tradition of honoring the memory of four-legged war heroes continues to develop. Courage lessons dedicated to sapper dogs are held in schools. Modern sinological services organize demonstration performances on commemorative dates, demonstrating the continuity of military dog breeding traditions. In some cities, special memory routes have appeared, linked to the places where mine-detecting dogs worked during the war and post-war years. The legacy of Soviet sapper dogs continues to live on in the modern world, where their unique experience and methods find application in a variety of fields. Canine services around the world use wartime developments to train modern four-legged specialists in explosive detection. The methods created by Soviet dog handlers in the 1940s formed the basis of international standards for training service dogs. Today, Sapper dogs remain indispensable helpers in demining territories affected by military conflicts. In Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and other hotspots, four-legged mine detectors work side by side with people, detecting hidden threats. It is noteworthy that many modern sinological centers study and apply the Soviet experience of training dogs from the Great Patriotic War. Sapper dogs are especially in demand in anti-terrorist operations. Their ability to detect explosives in airports, train stations, stadiums, and other crowded places saves thousands of lives. Modern four-legged specialists can distinguish more than 200 types of explosives, including the latest compounds that are practically odorless to humans. In Russia, the traditions of military dog breeding are carefully preserved and developed. The Center for Training Service Dog Specialists in Dmitrov continues the work of the Central School of Military Dog Breeding, established in the 1920s. Here, dogs are trained for work in the Ministry of Emergency Situations, the FSB, and the Border Service, using methods that have been time-tested and improved with modern technologies. Sapper dogs play a special role in humanitarian demining. After the end of military conflicts, they help return vast territories to peaceful life. For example, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, international canine groups, including Russian specialists, have detected and neutralized more than 1 million mines left after the Yugoslav wars over the past 20 years. Scientific research begun during the Great Patriotic War continues today. Scientists are studying the peculiarities of dogs' sense of smell, the mechanisms by which they recognize the odors of explosives, and the possibilities of improving their natural abilities. New training methods are being developed that take into account modern threats and technological challenges. Interestingly, the experience of Soviet dog handlers is used not only in the military sphere. Methods developed for training sapper dogs are used to train guide dogs for the blind, therapy dogs for working with children with developmental features, and rescue dogs for searching for people under rubble. In the 2000s, a new direction emerged: the use of dogs to search for explosives in reservoirs. Specially trained dogs can detect mines and shells underwater by minimal particles of explosives rising to the surface. This method was first tested back in 1944 during the forcing of the Dnieper. The experience of human-dog interaction in extreme conditions is of enduring value. Modern research shows that the methods of establishing an emotional connection developed by frontline dog handlers remain the most effective in training service dogs. Trust, mutual understanding, the ability to work as a single unit. These qualities still determine the success of joint work. The history of sapper dogs of the Great Patriotic War continues to inspire new generations of dog handlers and simply animal lovers. Films, books, exhibitions dedicated to four-legged heroes remind us of the selfless devotion and self-sacrifice of our smaller brothers. They teach us to appreciate this special bond between man and dog, a bond tested in the harshest trials and proven indestructible.